scholarship guard Chase Cook talks about his journey to the Division I level. And RMU Volleyball brings in new commitments. Hear from Coach Doherty about the future of the team. It may be cold outside, but it is heating up in the studio as it's time for another episode of CSC.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Colonial Sports Center, and it should be no shock to you that it's Tyler Gallo alongside Colby Sherwood again. And Colby, we have a lot for the people at home tonight, don't we?
That's right. We have a live hit from the UPMC Event Center to talk about the men's victory over Milwaukee, where Baldwin was not in the bird. Patrick Baldwin did not play in that game. It was a huge night for the Colonials. We have a lot of basketball and an interview with some new faces.
That's right, and we'll take it to that basketball game right away. Like Colby said, men's basketball was in action tonight. That finished mere minutes ago as they took on the Milwaukee Panthers. Let's take a look and see how they fared tonight. And the Event Center hoped to make it 2 in a row, and they did. They smoked the Panthers 77-53. Joey St. Pierre, 9 points for the Panthers. He's the highest scorer on the team. They held Dre Golston to an ineffective 3 for 12. And how about Khalil Spear tonight? A career-high 25 points. And also, a guy we're going to showcase a little bit later, Chase Cook had a career-high 5 tonight, Colby.
Well, let's head over to the women's basketball team now. After dropping the first 2 matchups against Youngstown State, including a 2-point loss where former Colonial Megan Callahan hit the game winner, they were finally looking for some revenge against those flightless birds. Were they able to get it in Youngstown this time? And unfortunately, no, they got absolutely smoked in this one, 61-44. Lily Riz went 7-14 with 18 rebounds, 17 points. Esther Casito went 6 for 13 with 15 points. Sol Castro had a bit of a good day there, but overall, not the Colonials' day against the Penguins. Now, Nate Breisinger has a bit more look at the game.
It is Season 2 in the Horizon League for the Robert Morris women's basketball team, and they are still trying to find their footing. For the 3rd time in 2 weeks, the Colonials took on their nearest adversary in the Youngstown State Penguins, this time just 60 miles down the road at the Beagley Center. In their first 2 matchups, RMU fell short by a combined total of 8 points. On Saturday, they looked to avenge those prior 2 losses. The YSU faithful packed into the gym as they cheered on their 16-2 Penguins as they faced their long-standing rival. Early on, RMU showed signs of promise, but it quickly went into Youngstown State's direction. By the end of the first half, the Colonials started to regain momentum, only trailing by 6. As the Colonials tried to claw back, they fell to a 10-point deficit at the end of the 3rd quarter. And with one last attempt to climb back, YSU distanced themselves from the Colonials, pulling out the impressive 61-44 win, sweeping the Colonials in the season series. Associate head coach Scott Schneider, who has filled in for head coach Charlie Buscaglia during his leave of absence, admitted that the Colonials had too many lapses and the Penguins capitalized on them.
We seemed to struggle to make the easy ones that we got near the basket, and then those opportunities that we earned, we didn't seem to capitalize on. And unfortunately, Youngstown, they make you pay every time that you have any mistakes, and credit to them. Every time we seem to lose that opportunity, lose that person, they took a great shot and they really buried us, and we just didn't seem to respond in that second half to their run, and they put us away at that point.
While the Colonials went 0-for against YSU this season, RMU still sits in the middle of the Horizon League pack with a 5-7 conference record. For Colonial Sports Center, I'm Nathan Breisinger.
Now on the topic of Youngstown State, last week former Colonial Megan Callahan returned to the UPMC Event Center, but this time as a member of the opposition. I had a chance to sit down with the former Colonial after the game, a game where she hit a game-winning buzzer beater for Youngstown State.
It's not often that a former player plays against their old university, but for Megan Callahan of Youngstown State, she did just that over the past week. Callahan, who spent 4 years at Robert Morris before grad transferring to Youngstown State, noted that there were some nerves when she came back to Moon for the first time, but she was happy to see her old teammates.
Definitely nervous. This was my home court for 4 years, so coming back there was a lot of nerves, but I love my old teammates and I was excited to see them again. Callahan,
who played against her old team 3 times in the span of 2 weeks, noted that there was no real motivation to do well against her old team, but she wanted to bounce back from the team's last loss against IUPUI.
Not really. I just know that after the last loss, I need to come focused and I need to stay positive for my team, so that's what I tried to do.
Interim head coach Scott Schneider, who coached Callahan during her 4 years at Robert Morris, broke down the type of player that Callahan is.
I mean, she's a great energy culture player. She plays with a lot of passion. She plays with a lot of heart. And I know she's going to be geared up for that game.
One could not have scripted Callahan's return to Moon Township any better, as with 0.9 seconds left, she nailed a dagger of a 3-pointer to put Youngstown State ahead for good. Callahan was just happy that her teammates had faith in her in that spot.
When I caught it, I knew my teammate had faith in me, so I had to have faith in myself to knock it down.
While she downplayed it in the moment, I'm sure it's a game that Megan Callahan won't forget for a long time. Reporting for Colonial Sports Center, I'm Tyler Gallo.
Thank you, Tyler. And now I'm with RMU's own basketball analyst, Michael Deemer. Michael, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, in all three matchups against Youngstown State, the Colonials were much like a penguin. They were not able to take flight and get a single win. They were swept this year. So why did they struggle so much against Youngstown State?
I'm going to say their rebounding and shooting. The Colonials, especially on the last matchup, did not shoot the ball well at all. They shot a putrid 17 for 57, that's 29% if you're counting, and 3 for 14 and from three-point land. As for rebounding, it was 42 to 27 when they were out rebounding on that Saturday afternoon. Well, it just wasn't their strong suit, especially for the big men.
Now, we were both at that game and definitely agree with you. Struggling and rebounding really did end up coming to bite them back in the foot. Talk to me a little bit about what that experience was like.
I mean, I thought it was really impressive that the Youngstown State game. The Youngstown State game at Youngstown, it was just a unique opportunity for CSN to be on the road once again.
Now, continuing with this, what was the bright spot versus the Penguins in any of these matchups, would you say?
I'm going to probably have to say their free throw shooting. It's not something you want to be the strongest at, but I think their free throw shooting was pretty well. They shot at 7 for 8, and it's been something that they've been struggling in as they've only shot 63% on this year so far.
Now, again, I agree. Free throw shooting was pretty good this year. We saw them continue to improve that as the season went along. Now, how do they rebound this weekend with 2 games at home, some home cooking in the UPMC Event Center? What do they need to do to rebound this week?
I just think they need shots to fall down. Like if they had the first shot to go in, I think that's an instant confidence boost. And if shots just went down, then it probably would have been in a different way.
Definitely, once you get the shots flowing, you feel a little more comfortable. Much like TV, you feel a little more comfortable going, and definitely they need that to fall. So, one more thing, who do you think who's going to have the biggest weekend? For
I'm going to say that Ashley Aklavazine, she is definitely needed for some opportunities, especially in that Youngstown State game, which she did not do well at all, especially in the rebounding category.
Michael, thank you for joining me. Now let's send it back over to Tyler to continue this women's basketball breakdown.
Thank you, guys. And yeah, still on the topic of women's basketball, they're in the thick of their season, and they're currently, in a pretty solid spot in the Horizon League standings. Take a look at the picture as they go along this season. And as of right now, RMU is currently in 8th place. If the playoffs started today, they would host a first-round game against Purdue-Fort Wayne, a team they beat earlier on in the season, and a team that's currently missing their leading scorer, Riley Ott, who broke her wrist and is sidelined for 6 to 8 weeks. So that could be a game that RMU could steal if they do play them. I could see them moving up a few more spots. Like they could catch Milwaukee, a team that they will play down the stretch, but they have to continue their solid stretch. So when we come back, we got more men's basketball, so stay tuned here on Colonial Sports Center.
Bring it.
Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home. Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride?
Sure. Yeah. All right. How about some one-on-one?
I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. We're going to keep it on the hardwood here. Ethan Morrison, the actual basketball expert for Colonial Sports Center, is still at the UPMC Event Center, as we said earlier, for this live hit. Ethan, take it away.
Thank you, Colby. Now, Robert Morris kicked off a 2-game homestand this evening against Milwaukee, and they defeated Milwaukee by a final score of 77-53. Now, for the Colonials, this was some of the best basketball they have played all season long, as just throughout the entire 40 minutes, they were strong throughout the night. Khalil Spear, a career-high 25 points in the winning effort tonight, and also, Michael Green had 13 points as well. Another thing, on the defensive end for the Colonials, they held Milwaukee to just 8% shooting from downtown. That was a huge effort there. They also had a season high in team rebounds with 52. So things are starting to click for the Colonials as they move through the conference portion of their schedule. And a little bit of momentum here, and soon enough, they'll be moving up into the standings. Now they got Green Bay back home on Saturday at 7 o'clock. Here at the UPMC Event Center, they look to make it 3 straight at home. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Ethan. And also with Ethan, he had a chance to sit down with Chase Cook, who it's not every day that a walk-on gets to earn a scholarship, but in Cook's case, injuries and holes in the rotation necessitated that he be a big part of this team, and he currently is staking his claim on the roster. Take it away, Ethan.
You were recently awarded a scholarship, so how did that feel, being a preferred walk-on the first season and a half and, finally getting that scholarship this year in year 2?
It was a great feeling. Kind of felt everything I was doing off the court, on the court, just came into play. Preparation, trying to stay ready.
Mm-hmm. And, take me through that moment when you were awarded that scholarship. What was going through your mind there? And, did your teammates do anything special for you?
They kind of just all jumped on me. It was after practice. My coach told me while we were in the huddle, he announced it, and everybody just jumped on me. It was kind of like a celebration. It was pretty cool.
And, moving back now, how did you first start, getting into the game of basketball?
I've always been around basketball. My parents kind of first put the ball in my hand. Then after that, I just never put it down. So every day since then, since a child.
And, any big key role models, growing up? Was it your parents who really, pushed you and guided you throughout your, younger years and then into high school?
Yeah, just like my parents and my mentors and the people in my circles, my coaches, things that keep me in the gym and focused, not trouble.
And, can you take me through the process of, what being a walk-on is? I mean, a lot of people might not know, the process. So can you just take me through a little bit about, what that process is like?
Everywhere, every situation is different, every school is different, but here it's tough. It can be very tough. It's challenging mentally. Sometimes you don't get as many reps as the other guys, so you have to continue to get better. You have to get a lot more work in outside of school. Like last year was definitely more hard. It was harder because it was 3 of us, and we had more guys. So this year I kind of came in. I was the only one who returned, and I was a returner guy too. So we have a whole new team. So I was kind of able to jump right in and get more reps off the break.
Mm-hmm.
But last year it was rougher. Last year it was worse. It was pretty bad.
And do walk-ons, do they get recruited by the specific school? Like, how does the recruiting process work out? Is it like the same as scholarship players?
It could be, I guess. Like I said, every situation is different. Mm-hmm. But for me, my senior year, when no one had offered me, and I was looking either to go prep or to go to college. But the prep schools, when I graduated my senior year, it was Corona. So a lot of prep schools and things weren't playing. JUCOs weren't playing. So the only thing I knew was playing were Division I's. And one of my coach's brothers went here, and he's like a big brother to me now. He went here. He's an alumni here. He played for Coach Toole, and he kind of got me here.
Yeah, and so was that, the main reason why you chose to, pursue and come here?
Yeah, because he went here, and I wanted to prove to myself that I was a D1 kid.
Thank you, Ethan. And if you want to see more of that feature, make sure to check out colonialsportsnetwork.com. The writers over there have you covered for everything Colonial Sports, while the basketball teams continue their march to the Horizon League tournament. Lacrosse begins their season. They have features and recasts of everything Colonial Sports.
When we come back, we're sitting down with two coaches at RMU. So stay tuned for more here on Colonial Sports Center.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. The show's going to keep on running now as we head to track and field. They took a trip up to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania for the Golden Invitational. Let's see how they fared in that one. And it was an all-around interesting day. Quintura Hunter was first in the weight throw with a 17.82 meter throw. Estelle Katende was first in shot put with 14.11 meters. Yassi Valencia was second in weight throw with 17.28 meters. And Maisie Fry was fifth in shot put with a 13.87 meter.
And another team that's getting their season underway almost shortly is men's lacrosse. They have a scrimmage with Seton Hill this weekend. Samuel Goldberg, our very own, had a chance to sit down with brand new head coach Craig McDonald to talk about his expectations for the upcoming season.
I'm lucky to have the staff that I have been able to bring on board. They've been instrumental in terms of navigating this and getting our team ready for the season. So I'm very lucky to have those guys, and obviously looking forward to continuing to push this forward.
Obviously last year, the Colonials had a prolific goal scorer in Ryan Smith. Obviously he's not here anymore, and graduating and stuff like that, moving on to the National Lacrosse League. Do you see this year a possibility in an open competition now for that for one of those starting attackman spots?
Yeah, I think anytime you come in and you're a new coach, right? I think it's wide open for everybody in terms of competition. So it's kind of a new start for a lot of guys, and there's been great competition. And again, Ryan was an excellent player. It's really hard to replace him with any single person. But we have a lot of guys that are competing, and as a group, we've done a really good job playing together and trying to build that cohesion on the offensive end. So looking forward to seeing who pushes through and who gets opportunities and what they do with those. I think it'll be something we constantly are evaluating, and the more competition we can have in practice, the more our guys can push each other and compete for those spots, the better group we're going to be.
Just off a couple of practices here before the scrimmage, do you have a couple players in mind that we should keep our eyes on for the season?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of guys that have great experience. So guys like Corson Keeley, who's played a ton of minutes here and done a tremendous job. Jake Boudreau, who's done a great job as well here in midfield. Those guys obviously have played a lot in their time here as fifth-year guys. They're going to have a big influence on the field, right, but really in the locker room in terms of leadership as well.
So another spring sport that's about to get underway as they look to return to the Horizon League softball tournament is RMU softball. They just announced their schedule recently, and it features their first trip out west since 2016 as they take up to Corvallis, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and Portland, Oregon for a little 3-game slate there. And they also head down to Rock Hill, South Carolina. They refer to it as Rock Thrill down there to take on Winthrop and Towson as they get to look to, again, Colby, return to the Horizon League softball tournament, something they did last year where they had a really good year.
Definitely one game that I think will be a home run is against Pitt. It's always nice to get some city rivalry going, and also against Youngstown State, a rival in the Horizon League, but definitely excited to see them back in action. Also, Oregon State and Washington, always a good time to play those big Power 5 schools.
That's right, and they are definitely going to be looking forward to that trip out west, I know that.
All right, now it's time to bump set and spike it over to volleyball. Colonial Sports Center sat down with new head coach Danny Doherty to talk about what's gone on so far. Let's take a look.
A couple different positions. Macy coming in as a DS libero, Hillary coming in as a right side, and Caitlin coming in as a setter. It adds depth and a lot of athleticism to what we already have. Anytime you get infusion and obviously blood into a system, it's always a good thing. All three of them are hyper competitive and do a lot of great stuff. Caitlin's super athletic.
Don't go anywhere here on Colonial Sports Center. When we come back, like we said, the volleyball team is going to head into a new era with Danny Doherty on the helm. Like we said, Dale Starr has been relieved of his duties late in the season. He's a guy that's had to recruit. But when we come back, we've got more for you as a women's hockey player heads to the Olympics. Well, stay tuned here on Colonial Sports Center.
Yo, Scott.
Hey.
I'm heading out, man. You want to ride?
No, I got my car, but I actually really need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, you know what? I was just in there. The line is like 10 people long.
I think I'll just...
Dude, are you okay?
You wouldn't believe what I was just thinking. I am definitely buzzed.
Yeah.
I think I will take this, and I will take that ride home.
Smart man.
Did you see how that dog was looking at me?
And we are back here on Colonial Sports Center, and as the Beijing Olympics are set to get underway in a couple weeks, a former women's hockey player is set to represent the country of China at the Olympics as Anna Fairman heads their former defender for the team. And now, women's hockey is a team that has sent several players to the Olympics, and surprisingly, they were cut from the program was entirely cut from the university last year. So Brianne McLaughlin played for USA, Mira Räikkönen at Finland, Anita Lidlova will play at the Olympics this year with Czechia, and then of course we've got Anna Fairman in China this year, and break down the comparison between her and Lidlova, two similar players during their time here, ones that didn't show up on the score sheet a lot necessarily, but two that were very important to the team. Of course, Anna Fairman, a lockdown defender, Anita Lidlova, one of the supporting characters on that team that featured Brittany Howard and Rebecca Vinton, players like that are really, really good. This is again a program that just oozes excellence, that brings out players into the Olympics, and this is again, just a gold standard for college hockey programs across the United States.
Definitely, and it's always frustrating to see when a program sends so many athletes to the Olympics, for them to get cut, unfortunately, just very weird.
Yeah, definitely a sour taste in the mouth of definitely patrons of the programs. But Anna Fairman, by the way, playing in China over the last year for the KRS Vanke Rays. She's going to be, staying in that country and playing in the Olympics, and that's going to be pretty interesting to watch.
Definitely. But let's go to more of a positive note. What games we think you should watch this weekend. Let's take a look at what I think you should watch this weekend. And it's a game on Sunday against Detroit Mercy Titans. It's going to be in the UPMC Event Center, as we were talking about earlier in the show. Some home cooking there. 1 p.m. I'll be there. covering for Colonial Sports Network. The last time RMU won 55-46 on November 18th at Callan Hall in Detroit. Some players to watch. Esther Casito, she's been going off this year, Tyler. She's almost averaging 10 points a game, near three assists, near 4 rebounds a game. And Sydney Sergi over for the Titans, about 11 points a game as well. 2.1 assists and averaging just about 4 rebounds a game. But definitely something I think you could watch is this women's team who could go on a streak late in the year.
That's right, and you know, with their most recent performance against Milwaukee tonight, I'm sticking with men's basketball as they take on Green Bay. I'm looking at Michael Green III, 10.3 points per game. That's up now as I think he had more than 10 tonight. But men's basketball now has 3 players that are averaging more than double digits. That's Khalil Spear, of course, tonight. That's career high 25. Cam Ferris, who's been held out the last couple of games, and Michael Green III. You know, the last time these two teams played, it was at the Resch Center in Green Bay, and RMU was nearly run out of the gym there. Lost 70-58, but hoping to rebound on a team that they could definitely beat. Is they're just ahead of them in the standings by a little bit, Colby.
Definitely a big game for both teams. The men's team looking to continue that lead over Green Bay and hopefully trying to host a playoff game. I don't know if they're going to be able to make up such a slow start, but it's been very close, continuing very close for the Colonials as the year's gone on. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I mean, the guy that they're missing right now is Cam Ferris, who's been out in protocols for the last couple of games. A guy that really they needed tonight because they were shooting rough from outside, and he's a guy that pretty much is icy from beyond the arc, for lack of a better term. But you know, this is a team that they can when they put it all together. We've seen them play in close games before. We've seen them play really close against some of the best teams in the conference. Remember, they lost by 1 to Cleveland State. They lost by 2 to Wright State. 2 teams that they definitely, you know, probably want those games back. But a game against Green Bay that they could win, definitely very important for this stretch.
Then heading back over to my game to watch, the women's team has been okay, pretty good recently. They're right now in contention to win, host a playoff game. Oakland tomorrow up for the Colonials, and definitely defense has been a strong suit for this team this year. We're seeing some footage here, but definitely if they can get some rebounding going again, continue that good defense, get that shooting going again, and they definitely have a shot to continue to improve this year.
That's right, and their biggest problem is their lack of scoring. They only have 1 player averaging above double digits. That's Esther Casito, who's had a phenomenal season for this team. Sol Castro's seemingly fallen off a little bit after her really good year last year. Again, defense is going to keep you in most games, and that's what we've seen. But if you're playing against conference powerhouses like Youngstown State in their own gym, and IUPUI, who's got Macy Williams, who's averaging a double-double every game, it's going to be tough to stick in, as you see here. But they've got the pieces to put it together. This is a marked improvement from last year for this team, who really sort of just was, you know, run off the court almost every game last year, and a team that they rebuilt with all freshmen. Unlike men's, who put a bunch of transfers in, we saw how they've done. But the men's team is definitely better than the record suggests.
Definitely sticking with that point when you're talking about Sol Castro. I think more that is last year she was a freshman, kind of new. The conference didn't really know what to expect from her. This year we're seeing more of a scouting report against her, seeing her weaknesses, and I think that's what's seeing a slow start for Sol Castro as the year has continued. Definitely thought we'd see other contributors. Maybe Asha Kloffenstein could continue to add. Maybe Mackenzie Amelia. We just need some more contributors for this team other than Esther Casito, who's gone off.
That's right, and we have to take a look at the standings one more time to show you where women's basketball currently stands. Like I said, they would be hosting a team they beat, Purdue-Fort Wayne, in the first round. If they can keep it around that middle part, they will host a game in the Horizon Tournament, and what better to do it in front of your home fans. They've been pretty good at home this year against the teams they've played. They've had some good performances. Of course, you know, they got dealt a tough hand when they had to play Youngstown State, and Megan Callahan hit that game-winning three-pointer, but they've got some games coming up, like Detroit Mercy, who has not won a game this season as they rebuilt their entire roster. That's a game that they should win, and it's going to be a good game against Oakland, who is 7-3 right now. They've got Kalasia Dean, who's one of the more impressive players in the conference and one of the toughest guards. She's going to be really, really tough to hold down, even if they do have a good defense.
Definitely, and you got to beat the teams you should. An 0-11 team, 0-18 overall in the year. If they don't beat Detroit Mercy, they have no business hosting a playoff game at home. If you can't beat the teams you're supposed to, you shouldn't compete then.
And let's get back to the men's side now. We talked a little bit about them. Who's really impressed you over the recent stretch?
I think Khalil Spear, because he's pretty much carried the team at times this year. Cam Ferris has been very good. We've talked about his shooting, but Khalil Spear has been that constant hand for the team. Every single game, you can count on him. He dropped 25 points today, a career high, I believe we were talking about. But just Khalil Spear's consistency, his ability to lock down defensively, his ability to rebound, facilitate the offense, that's something almost like another coach on the court that you really need to succeed.
Definitely, they feed off of his energy. And like I said with Kalasia Dean, talking about, you know, a tough guard, Khalil Spear has been really, really tough to guard for opposing teams, especially a team like Northern Kentucky who didn't have anyone taller than him. He went out there and backed them down pretty well. A guy that's really improved over the last stretch after putting up 0 against Cleveland State. Michael Green has done nothing but be impressive. And a guy that you haven't heard too much about this year but is a big part of the offense, Enoch cheeks. He stuffs the stat sheet every night. He's not going to drop like 20 points. He's going to drop around 10, but he's going to get you with the rebounds. He's going to get you with the assists. He's a very, very well-rounded player, and is a guy that needs to turn it on as they go forward. And he did tonight. He didn't shoot very well, but he was making himself known on the score sheet.
Always a good time watching Enoch Cheeks play. He's one of my favorite players on the team.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's all we have here for you on CSC tonight. For Colby Sherwin, I've been Tyler Gallo. And, whenever we come back, we will see you, which will be next week, Thursday, here on Colonial Sports Center. Stay tuned and come back. Definitely.